My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, a podcast where Gary and I talk about all things X-Men, sexual or not, but with both sides.
Yeah, we do both sides of the X-Men and the Sex-Men.
In one episode, it's everything you need to know, everything that you've learned about sexual X-Men at Harvard, and another episode is everything they don't teach you about sexual X-Men at Harvard. So.
Do you know the movie Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes.
Okay, so like everybody talks about the weird kind of like sexual assault scene in that.
Yes.
But I think a lot about a song from the soundtrack called "Are You Ready for the Sex Girls?" Do you know that song?
I do not know. It's been a long time since I've watched Revenge of the Nerds.
It's incredible because like the soundtrack to that movie is just all full of like dorky new wave and stuff. And then at one point they go to another like a sorority or something, and the soundtrack's like, "Are you ready for the sex girls? The fine, super fine, real sex girls."
I fucking love it, dude.
I think about that all the like, am I ready for the sex girls? I think about that all the time. Like, it's a really funny adjective noun to me.
A small spoiler for the Doom Patrol TV show, but in season 2, their little weird mansion gets invaded by the sex men. Who are basically the Ghostbusters, but for ghosts that are only having sex. So
just that ghost that gives Dan Aykroyd a blowjob. In
exactly.
Ghostbusters, which is totally a thing that happens.
That's a whole thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just like Dan Aykroyd just insisting, like, no, if I'm going to do this movie, like a ghost is going to swallow my cum. I'm not going to do this movie otherwise.
You need to you either talk to my agent or you or you let me get a blowjob from a ghost. Either one.
Yeah. You either talk to my agent into giving me a blowjob, or I get a blowjob in this movie. No points in between. And
Jeremy Piven from Entourage pops out of nowhere. Did somebody say blowjob?
Yeah, just
Dan Aykroyd. I'm into that.
No.
We're talking about X-Force, specifically X-Statics, which started in X-Force. So if you are tuning in, we're about 5 issues deep. This is the 5th issue. We started with X-Force 116, and this is going to be issue 120. So yeah, just go back and read those or listen to the podcast. I'm enjoying this series even more than I had been at first. So I'm all bought in, Gary. This is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it gets there's tons of good stuff in it. There are some dips that are coming, but we're on a real good streak. There's kind of an important piece of trivia I forgot during last week's episodes. Do you want to hear this important piece of trivia?
Hit it.
The first issue of this, the X-Force 116, was the first comic book since like Spider-Man 96 or something to be printed without the Comics Code Authority.
Oh yeah,
because of the violence, and that is what made Marvel stop submitting to the Comics Code Authority. Was that so? It's kind of a historical comic. Like they wanted to depict all the violence in it. The Comics Code Authority went, "Nah, no, don't show as many intestines." And then Marvel said, "We're not going to do it anymore." And that was like kind of the sea change moment. So I knew that when we recorded last week. I just forgot to mention it. But I always think that's kind of an interesting little bit of Marvel history.
When we jump into the X-Statics title proper, pretty early on in the letters column, somebody complains about that because they say, I thought that this was going to be for a mature audience, and like was expecting, I guess, like for there not to be nudity or for there to be nudity or something. Like it was just going to be tits out 24/7.
No violence, but I must see you go girls bush.
I got to see it.
Why is that hard to say?
Got to see it. Yeah, so I remember I thought that was kind of interesting that they were just like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. This is over now.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to bother with that.
And it was part of like, the idea behind this whole thing and kind of the context around it. Like it wasn't marketing, but it was part of this like reinvention of the X-Men with new X-Men and stuff with Axel Alonso joining as editor. And they wanted to drum up publicity This book ended up like being on the cover of like multiple magazines and getting written up in Rolling Stone and stuff. I had kind of like, I was looking up stuff about it, largely spoiler, because the 4th issue we're recording today, nothing happens in it.
Yes.
And I was going to save all this stuff for that. And now I just haven't, because I didn't want to say it before I forgot, because I am tired. And I feel like if I don't say it, I'll lose it.
I understand completely.
So
2020,
that's where I'm
2020 attitude, man.
2020, like 5 days before election, 2020, 6 days, so it's like we're through the looking glass, people.
Yeah. I am so, like, I can't, like, I was real tuned in to 2016, and I tried my best to stay real tuned in on 2020, but like, I just can't. Like, I mean, I voted, right? Like, I did the thing, but like, I didn't, I can't like pay attention to debates or anything like that. It's just a fucking nightmare show. So
I don't understand how people watch the debates.
I don't even,
like, why do you want to see those two old men talk?
Yeah,
it's so fucking gross.
Like, I will fucking hold my nose and flush the commode on a vote for Joe Biden, but like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't. Please don't make me hear him talk until he's like turning it over to AOC in 4 years or whatever.
People are putting up fan art and stuff and on Twitter, and it's rough for me.
Yeah, and
it's not like fan art of Trump is good to me either. None of the fan art of never draw fan art of a politician. Have some fucking dignity. But yeah, it's I am nervous about the results of it though. So even though I'm not following it, I'm still having this intense like sense of like this weird overwhelming feeling that Joe Biden has to win at the same time while not liking him.
Yeah.
It's just this like, oh, that would be horrible. This would be bad, but that would be horrible. And I am experiencing anxiety about it.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'm surrounded by like, I'm where I am in the world.
Trump
in
country.
The United States is Trump country. Like, there's my next door neighbor put up a Confederate flag and a "Don't tread on me" flag. So
better not tread on him. He might rise again.
I mean, and like like in typical neighbor fare, like I know that dude. Like, we've had conversations. Hey dude, do you want a beer? Or, hey dude, like, we're grilling, that kind of thing. Casual relationship, neighbor stuff. But like walking out into my backyard and like, it's a nice day and. Oh man, like, it's just the first thing that you see, and it's really disappointing. So
it's a bummer to see it, man. It feels like every once in a while, like I am surrounded in just this sea of like, Biden Harris signs and stuff, and then Ian Arone, the like more progressive challenger for mayor here, and then every once in a while, like a Trump truck will come through, like just basically an advertisement. Like, they don't live here, but they'll just kind of roll through to freak out the squares. And it is just like, ugh. Like, I'm not freaked out. I'm just like exhausted by it. I also, this is very, very funny. I was walking around with my girlfriend the other day, and everyone's put up their Halloween decorations.
Okay.
But they're mixing really funnily with everyone's like Black Lives Matter signage.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So like, you just have like, it's like this house haunted, take one piece of candy or forever lose your soul, say their name, zombie crossing. No one deserves to die in a cage. Witches enter the back door. It's really funny.
This Kingdom Hearts game sounds like it's going to be lit.
The juxtaposition of it's fucking incredible. There's one of them where it's like no one deserves to die in a cage, and it's written in kind of a spooky font.
Oh man!
And there's a ghost next to it, and it's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen. Like, I know it's like dark material, and I agree with the sentiment, but also like I laughed my ass off.
The weird thing that has happened to me lately is I got bored enough to start a TikTok for Monster of the Week.
Oh, okay.
Not me personally, but just for the podcast, because somebody told us that they found the podcast through somebody else on TikTok talking about us, and I was like, well, that just can't possibly be right. Like, that can't possibly be right. And I just like posted about it on the Discord. People followed it. I followed those people back, and I put like some stupid ass videos up there. And then I would open it to see like what people were saying or anything. And they have a whole section that's just like for you, which is separate from your following. So imagine like a Twitter just created a timeline for you. And it's like 90% naked women, or mostly naked women, like that are pro-Trump. And I'm like, what about the information that I stuck in this app is this? Because, and like they're doing like weird dances, and I'm like just scrolling through going like, what in the fuck? And like then they'll break out like a Trump flag right at the end or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I don't understand. This is so weird.
Yeah.
I hate teens.
People's era. Their Eros and Thanatos are hopelessly fucking mixed up. Like their death cult wish and the fact that they get a boner from it is just absolutely wires crossed.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking about death cults, like let's talk about the X-Force.
Yeah, this is the conclusion of like kind of the first proper arc.
Yes.
And they brought in Wolverine.
Of course they did.
They brought in a guest star. I love this cover. I love Mike Allred's Wolverine.
Yeah, he's looking
just like very squat and like weird looking. I love how long his claws are. Mm-hmm. Like I'm into this drawing.
It's very good.
Dupe clearly filming Wolverine. You can see his fingers.
And Wolverine is saying, I'm only doing this to boost sales, which is a good joke for a cover with Wolverine on it because that has long been the case with Wolverine. So,
yeah, let us get into it.
Let's do it.
We start off with kind of a direct continuation of that cover. Like it's kind of weird. The cover is the first page,
which I really like.
You know,
I don't know that I've seen that before. Like I'm sure it's happened. I'm not saying that this is the first time, but it was just really like it was kind of like a whoa, okay, cool. That doesn't normally happen.
I've only seen it in a book, like Dave Eggers' second book. The cover of the book is the first page of the book, and I always thought that was a cool trick, even though I think that guy is not great. So he's saying this thing. He's like, I'm not sure about this new X-Force. When I first heard about him, now I understand him. I'm even less sure about him as he's cutting apart X-Force action figures and standees.
Yes,
here, and it looks like he's about to take him on, and then we cut over to him talking to Dupe. And this is for publicity. This is another little ad spot.
Yeah. And Dupe is encouraging him to do something. And we don't really know what it is, but like it's, because Dupe is speaking in Dupe language. But Wolverine is like, are you sure you want me to do this? Like, okay, fine. Like, whatever. Like, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. Like, I owe you. You and I go way back. We talked a little bit about this like merch shop that they're in the previous episode that we recorded on. And I just want to say now, I was looking at it today while I was reading this and going like, man, I wish X-Men was this popular. I wish like in real life, X-Men was popular enough to have like an X-Men store that I could go into and buy X-Men things. Because
I wish that X-Statix was as popular.
Yes, also
I had an X-Statix, like in my mid-20s, I had an X-Statix shirt. And it was like the only piece of merchandise I was able to find from them. But like I've wanted to find, and I have a Dupe action figure that came with Deadpool in my action figure collecting days, but getting X-Statix stuff has been basically impossible.
Sure.
And I would go in here and I would wear this stuff. The little Dupe squeaky toys.
Absolutely, 100%, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want like a little like a Dupe stress ball that I can like fuck with while I'm recording podcasts, so I don't do this number constantly and annoy people that have to listen to it.
Wolverine is even drinking an X beer.
Dude, I would drink an X beer. I would do that once, right? Like that would be, we do a taste test on the podcast on the X-Men.
Be incredible, real fun. Be a good live show thing. So basically he's asking him to do something and Wolverine is consenting to it. He's saying like, the coach, like he's real mean son of a bitch. And you go girl. Well, if I told you what I wanted to do to her, I wouldn't want that to show up in your little diary video. So he's horned.
Super horned.
For him. Yep. But he says, the next couple days are going to be messy for your crew. And we get the title screen of him storming out. We go to the press conference. If we remember what happened last time, do we remember what happened last time?
Not at
Again,
all.
my sleepacules. I know. So Guy, the orphan, refused to give up Paco Perez.
Yeah.
And the coach turned against them. He sent Succubus and Smoke after them. And
the big thing at the end, it was the reveal that the orphan actually has parents, and they accuse him of trying to murder them. So that was the big thing at the end. I got confused because once again, having read X-Statix, like the actual title before some of this stuff, I was like, wait a minute. Aren't they supposed to be dealing with like, oh, nope, that's like 20 issues now, Jeremy. So.
That comes a little bit later. Coach kind of creeped on You Go Girl and offered her a position leader on the team.
Yes.
And they made some kind of deal. We don't have any kind of information on that. Mm-hmm. But we cut to a press conference and the whole team is not there. Miles is there, Fat is there, and the Anarchist is there, but no one else is there. And the coach is saying, no, we're still a team. Guy's taking a few days off. Paco Perez is confidential and Eddie's fine.
Yeah.
And we cut to her taking one of her ampules and psyching herself up. I've killed a lot of people before. Why should this be different? Kind of revealing that, the plan, the coach wants her to kill Guy.
And she's also saying that like if she had just kind of submitted to the sexual harassment from Coach, like maybe she could have avoided all of this to begin with. Like 20 minutes of being super grossed out and messing with his amputated arm, and I would have been team leader in this one. None of this would have happened.
Which makes me think Coach has a dick for an arm.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You know?
There's worse places on your body for a dick, I guess. So
it's probably the second best place.
I mean, I'm trying to think. Hold on. I'm trying to think about logistics. I mean, obviously for blowjobs, like definitely one of the best places ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for like just straight up missionary sex,
difficult.
Like that, like you don't have a lot of leverage. I wouldn't think. Maybe, like, you know what I'm saying? If you wanted to
on your shoulder, if you had it instead of your hand.
Okay, yeah,
that's actually what I think would be the second best. Shoulders up there, like hand, elbow, shoulder, 2, 3, and 4.
Knees, legs, toes.
There's an anaconda.
Yeah, I guess dick for a hand would be fine.
Sucked off by a boa constrictor.
But yeah, dick on a shoulder though, I don't think would be very good unless you had a dick on both shoulders. Unless it was symmetrical, then I'm all of a sudden I'm way more into it for some reason.
Like a Venture Brothers villain.
100% a Venture Brothers villain. Yeah.
So we cut over here to the owner, Spike Freeman, who was introduced in passing, but we haven't really spent any time with. Here, I love this. He's got like a replica copy of Mjolnir, smashing apart statues of ecstatics.
Perfect, absolutely love it.
Like I need drama. Like I need a war. There needs to be blood and gore and treachery with X-Force pitted against each other. We have some of my people are working on a video game, and if there isn't a real life war, we're not going to sell any copies. Like, I need this. And Coach is trying to mollify him. Like, you can have that war. Now is not the time. I have our best people looking into it. The orphan is too popular right now. We can't have a public war because people would take his side.
And once again, like an Ecstatics video game, please. Please.
Please
incredible. Bring this to me.
Did you notice the little binder he has that has the different popularity levels?
Yes. The little bars.
Everybody like O at the top. Poor Vivisector. All the way at the bottom.
All the way at the bottom, man. Not a very popular dude. What's his powers? Like, he just turns into a wolf. Who cares?
Yeah, we've had werewolves before, man. So he basically says, like, listen, here's what we can do. Every day, Guy Smith plays Russian roulette. Like, we're gonna fake his suicide. Yeah. We want to get rid of him. We're gonna do it this way. This thing that pushes him over the edge, and that's gonna save face and get rid of him, which is what we need.
Yeah. And we cut over to the orphan seeing his parents on TV, and Edie confronted him about it, saying, like, you're not actually an orphan at all. And he's like, I didn't even know. Like, I was raised as an orphan. I didn't know that these people existed until 3 years ago. They're not my parents. Like, I still consider myself an orphan. Obviously, everybody has biological parents. Like, doesn't necessarily mean I'm not an orphan, Edie. You fucking weirdo. How dare you call yourself an orphan and you got parents? Huh?
Yeah. You were born of woman. So when he found out, he found out 3 years ago that not only were they alive, but they had tried to kill him.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the origins of his like trauma, like his his suicidal ideation and stuff. And he says, like, that's why I did. I went home and pointed a revolver at my head and pulled the trigger. He kind of explains, like, he's been doing it every night. Mm-hmm. Edie, like, kisses him, and, is kind of flirting with him. The orphan is sensing that she's nervous. Like, she seems really on edge, and she chalks it up to the drugs.
Yeah. And she does seem like she is, like, she seems like she is drugged up. Like, she is acting like that.
Yeah. But she's actually drugged up to psych herself up.
Yes.
Do something she doesn't want to do.
And she asked for this like incredibly complicated water pour, which for some reason, like, as much as I get tired of talking about LA, like, it feels like a very LA thing to do. LA.
Oh yeah.
So he goes off to get that, and she basically puts more bullets into the gun, removing the roulette from the Russian part of this. So it's just Russian, I guess.
Just making her Russian.
I guess that doesn't make any sense.
When you shoot yourself in the head, that's called a Russian.
That's called a Russian. Yeah, that's everybody knows that. You don't have to go to urbandictionary.com. Like, stay off that site.
Yeah. Yeah. But after she does so, she pieces out.
Yeah, she leaves.
She's like, "Oh, I have something I need to be doing. I'm out." you know, and teleports out. And she goes to go have dinner with the anarchist, and she's getting drunk to like forget her feelings. Like she's feeling guilty, and even the anarchist is like, "You've had enough." And you can see their table. She has like a huge array of drinks splayed out in front of her.
Yes.
You know,
and she gets confronted as she gets up, and she's like slurring her words, and she's a little stumbly. One of the paparazzi like get in her face with the camera, and are like, "Oh, you're back on the sauce, huh?" And she just punches it right out of his fucking hand. And he says, like, you know, without us, you'd just be mutant freaks. But like, that's the whole purpose of this, is for them to cause a bunch of drama and be kind of messy, right? Like, this is the Real Housewives of Worcestershire, whatever,
Westchester County.
Westchester, yeah.
Not the Real Housewives of Worcestershire sauce.
I would watch it.
It's like a different.
I'm addicted to reality television. It's Netflix. If it's on Netflix, baby, give me all episodes at once. I will binge that shit in a day and forget it exists. One of them is named Ketchup, and that's weird, but I like her. She's the underdog.
I love Eddie's characterization, you know, because it's like she'll do this horrible thing, but she's like really struggling with it, you know. She had to psych herself up. She's trying to make herself forget and everything. And that's like an interesting moral position for her to be in. She's not a mustache twirling villain. And one of the themes I think about, the series is like, what place is there for heroism? Like with these characters, you know, in what ways are they good people? Like it is very obvious the ways in which the members of X-Force and X-Statix are bad people, but it's always really interesting in which we see the ways in which they're good people.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know,
and she's, you know, having her kind of battle this is just super interesting. Like it's not a typical, like, this is not the villain for the team, right? Like this isn't not Dr. Doom. This is just her like, I'm real fucked up on drugs and I'm, you know, super ambitious and will sacrifice anything to get what I want. But now that I've started to do that, this fucking sucks. And it's, you know, you don't get a lot of that in superhero comics. So.
And this issue has like a fight in it and stuff too. This issue kind of has everything. Yeah. This is a very good issue of this comic.
Well, I mean, it has
they
Wolverine,
did a really good job.
So they started strong.
Yeah. It started strong and strong. You know, the coach kind of outlines his plans of like how she's going to be reborn as the leader. You know, all these people in your team are dying. You had a hard time, but then you pull through like a phoenix. You know, you owe it to Axel, you owe it to Guy, you owe it to everyone who believes. You know. And then people will forget about this, and Coach like looks and says, "That's what's so great about today. Nobody remembers anything anymore." And Eddie counters and says, I remember a time when I liked myself." And she starts digging around her purse. The coach knows what this is. She's looking for the stuff to give her enough energy to teleport.
Yes.
And he correctly calls like she's going to go save him.
A small detail here. I really like that he still has the black eye she gave him when he tried to get all up in her bedroom. He eventually caves in and like gives her whatever this drug is, because she kind of begs him like, "I'm gonna go do this. You know, if you don't let me do this, if you don't give me the inhaler, you know, I'm gonna kill you." And he's like, "Okay, fine, like whatever." And of course, she inhales it and then immediately starts having trouble breathing. And he says, "You know, that's what happens when you get soft. You start trusting people, and you're not watching for every possible edge that they can get up on you, and you end up like, you know, now you're in a comatose state.
Getting
basically.
roofied.
You got roofied.
Yeah, you're roofied. Like it's literally, you know, this is going to keep you this side of comatose. You'll be vaguely aware of what's going on as he like leans over her sweatily and starts undressing her. Like it's really fucking gross. But luckily, here comes the orphan to kick him in the ribs and kind of outline that theme a little bit. I mentioned, you know, he says like, one of my problems with X-Force has been there don't seem to be any bad guys. I wasn't sure if I was better than the guys I'm supposed to be fighting, and now I know that I am. You know, this is a comic about shades of black, not about black and white.
Yes.
And so he saves Yugo Girl from being assaulted, but the coach's kind of goon squad of Smoke and Succubus pop in.
Yep. And this is not going well. Smoke gets Guy in a kind of a hold, and they cut open his super protective suit, and they start kind of cutting into his chest. And of course, he's super sensitive, so like bad stuff is super bad stuff. And everything is overwhelming, so he is immediately having a lot of problems with this. And Coach is like, "Hey, like this is gonna be real easy. You know, she overdosed, you committed suicide. Like we're one and done, and we'll be back on track here." When our friend,
I love this panel of him holding the orphan by his antenna, like dragging him over. Imagine how that hurts.
Ouch. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because those are sensory organs. It'd be like somebody holding you by your eyes.
Yeah. That's why those. That's why you need wide and shallow bowls for cats. I have learned in the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where You Go Girl, like Coach reveals that You Go Girl was going to save him, and this touches Eddie. He's like, "Oh, you're going to save me." But as you mentioned, here pops in Wolverine.
Yep. Coach is like, this isn't Ecstatic's business. This doesn't concern you. And I like Wolverine's answer here of like, if it has an X, I'm involved. And I'm like, like, where is the line on that?
Yeah.
Like, it's just on the team name.
Like filing court papers for Xerox and stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. He's in trademark disputes.
I love this dialogue here where he's like, if that's how you want it, Smoke and Succubus deal with him. And Smoke's like, well, we will. He's overrated, living on his reputation. He's the housewife's choice. I love, like, I really want a comic, like a limited series called like Weapon X: The Housewife's Choice. I like that phrase a lot.
That's good. The housewife's choice. And it's as you mentioned earlier, it's a fight. They start with Wolverine's help. They kind of start whipping ass a little bit. You Go Girl, who has a pretty large tolerance for drugs in general, manages to come out of this and gets the gun away from Coach, while Wolverine and Guy are kind of doing mid-air fighting and chopping. I love that Wolverine just chops Smoke in half.
Yeah,
which
you could do that.
I'm here for it. Like, I don't care. He's a being made of smoke to begin with, so like, I'm not here for realism. But like, the idea that you're gonna chop Ghost Guy in half, like, can Wolverine cut a ghost in half? It's an important question.
Wait, Adamantium can cut anything, dude.
Can it
ghost feelings?
Can it cut through my heart?
Yeah. Yes. And while they're doing this, Orphan and Wolverine are having this conversation. Like, Orphan's like, "Why are you here to save me?" And Wolverine's like, "I don't give a shit about you. I'm doing it." He won't reveal it, but in the earlier he met with Dupe, he's doing it for Dupe. While this is happening, they dispatch Smoke and Succubus, and they hear a gunshot, and they look over. There's a little bit of a fake out where it looks like Eddie is dead, but actually she had shot Coach.
Yes, she was covered with Coach's blood. Coach is officially dead now. Wolverine hands him a tape and says, "I think you will find this interesting." And the next page is him watching the tape, which is basically Coach and Zeitgeist making all of the plans to do what they did, which is set up the Ecstatics Force team to get killed, using that boys band that I've already, Boys R Us, that's what it was.
Yeah, Boys R Us.
And during this, Zeitgeist like completely runs You Go Girl down of like, yeah, we've had sex a couple of times, but I kind of wish we didn't because now she's all grabby. Real, like, kind of some darker shit, like some real, like, I dare you to show the group DM with the fellas kind of bullshit going on in here. I am, it's just bad. And of course, Guy is watching this, and You Go Girl comes up and she's like, "What's in it?" And he's like, "Garbage, absolute garbage. We don't need to really discuss that.
This will hurt your feelings. You don't need to see it." And I love the idea that like the end of this arc begins with like what would have been page -1, of the first arc. Like the fact that Zeitgeist just had this conversation with Coach, when that issue begins, he's having those flashbacks about when his powers manifested and hurting that girl. It makes sense that he would be reflective.
Yes.
About that. It kind of mirrors what You Go Girl goes through when she kind of has to psych herself up to kill Guy and is being reflective and stuff. And he did the same thing. He just didn't make the right choice.
Yeah. Like
he was also tempted to murder by Coach and gave into it, but ended up dying. He was used. Like Coach was saying that you would survive, and he was lying. So real dark shit.
Absolutely.
We reveal, You Go Girl is like, "Why didn't you kill yourself?" And he's like, "The gun was 5 bullets heavier." Like, that's my superpower, you dumb idiot.
I can feel things. Like my whole vibe is sensitivity, man. Come on, what are you doing?
Yeah. And they basically say, like, "We have a guardian angel, somebody who's watching out for us." And it shows Dupe kind of creeping and watching them.
Yes.
And that's the end of the first arc and the end of that issue.
Yeah. And what a great place for our characters to be in. I like adding some, like, Dupe is already kind of mysterious and weird, but just adding a little layer of potential malevolence to that, I think is really good.
Yeah. I cannot wait. There's an arc called Ecstatics versus Avengers. That is the second to last arc of this comic. That is incredibly funny. and his real weird dupe stuff.
Fucking love it, dude.
And really great Avengers stuff too. All of the Avengers are as funny as they've ever been.
Good.
So it's a very funny thing.
But yeah, what a great place to leave everybody in. Like, this is like, we mentioned it in the last episode, I think, but just having such clear, grounded characters with very obvious motivations without it being like super hammy and like announcing powers every 20 minutes is just like, it's just really solid writing with on top of really great art. And I have zero complaints about this whatsoever. It feels weird to be doing this podcast without complaining about something. So
yeah. I mean, there's some dodgy art coming up. There's some arcs that are like less essential and some of them that are kind of worse. But, you know, at its core, like, you know, I read some interviews with Peter Milligan, and he was talking about how, you know, it is about cynicism and celebrity culture and stuff, but he also, like, it is a character focused book. Yeah. Like, he has a rule about this, like, anyone can die. It's subverting all these superhero tropes, but also, like, he cares about the characters and he wants you to care about the characters. Like, and that comes through really, really hard to me. You know, I really like these flawed shitbags. You know,
absolutely.
Like I said, on the surface, bad people. When they're good people, it's really interesting, and the dichotomy between those two things is awesome.
Really good stuff, and I'm looking forward to getting more and more into this. We should record more often so I can finish this in a hurry.
yeah. No, I'm down. Like, I also had to stop myself because the next issue that we're recording next time is one of my favorites.
Oh, nice.
It's a really good one. It's like a downtime issue, the way that X-Men kind of stopped doing.
Like the swimsuit issue or the playing basketball or baseball kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, it's Hugo Girl's origin, and it's drawn by Darwin Cook, the late great Darwin Cook. So the art is phenomenal, and it's just like a really sweet slice of life story.
Nice.
So yeah, no punches are thrown.
Oof.
So thanks everybody for listening.
We appreciate it.
We'll be back in a couple of days with X-Force 121. If you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and ratings, reviews are always welcome.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out other shows on the network. Gary and Cole just launched Orb, which is a Venture Brothers episode by episode podcast, and I have listened to the first. I listened to the pilot and the one on episode 1. I think the newest one just came out, and it is very good, and I'm very much looking forward to you guys dissecting all of the various references and pop culture material that's in there, because it's a lot, and I don't know all of it, so it's good. Yeah.
Thanks. Appreciate it. We don't bring this up that often, but if you like Jeremy does other podcasts that are not on Duckfeed that are also good and worth listening to. Mm-hmm. Monster of the Week, which is about this supernatural family of, I don't know, you do comics and stuff on there as well, but mostly the show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We cover a large amount of stuff on our Patreon stuff, but mostly the Supernatural podcast. We're starting season 13 up, which means we're doing a new theme song. So last time was the Boys of Summer. This time it is the we're not announcing that just yet. It's secret. I'll tell Gary, but I won't tell anybody else. And then when I tell Gary, he's going to laugh his ass off. So because he's going to think that I'm a goddamn idiot. So yeah, look forward to that. Monsteroftheweek.cool.
Goodbye.
Bye everybody.